the only thing I care about is e-commerce to a point where it's very sad. Like, I was thinking, in my whole life, I've watched less than 40 hours of sports, and that includes live games I've gone to. Like, and I've gone to 10. It's like I have literally I do not know what's happening in the world. I cannot tell you who, like, current events, unless they directly are tied to e-commerce and e-commerce performance.
Sean, it's your.
Yeah, luckily there's more upside in e-commerce.
There's a lot more to being obsessed with e-commerce.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Operators Podcast. We did a two-parter, so you're gonna listen to part one right now. It's kind of all over the place, but it's us trying to show our personalities and how we're all so different and unique. You're going to hear a lot of hot takes from the resident David Sachs and Jason. You're going to hear us grill our Canadian best friend about what's happening up north. And I try to convince everyone to do a wealth distribution so we can become a great consumer class, get everyone rich so they can buy rich wallets. That's my plan. So that's part one of the Operators Podcast. Thank you for being here. This is going to be released as episode 25. And shout out to our lovely, lovely sponsors in Sendlane, Northbeam, and our premier sponsor, just one tier above everybody else, in Fulfill. They're paying for this amazing content. That's why you get it for free. So thank you to those three sponsors, and a double thank you to Fulfill.
My son Jake was a really good baseball player in high school, and and I was like his coach from the time he was 9 until like high school, and I was like a psycho baseball dad. There's this tournament in Cooperstown where like 120 teams come every week, right? And you stay in a bunk with your team. So the coaches sleep with the players in the bunk, and if it rains, they postpone games, and like they'd start games at midnight. A game would just be like, all right, the rain's done and the field is ready, like get out, because we've got 120 teams that need to play this freaking tournament, and the balls are juiced, so they're just hitting bombs, and everyone was like, you do this once, you do this one time, you do it 1 week. It's because it's like it's the best experience ever, but it's also torture. And I'm like, nah, fuck it. Jake's playing on 2 teams and we're going to go another week. And like, this is like how crazy I was. So
That's awesome.
Yeah, Jason, you're an accomplished, like you have to accomplish the goal. Like you want the achievement and then you can move on to the next game. Right. And which is,
a lot of founders are like that though. They're either mega like shiny object syndrome, like ADHD, or obsessive compulsive. They go super deep on whatever they're into at any one moment. Like so many of my entrepreneurial friends have like one of those 2 traits. So many. Like I think my wife keeps telling me that all of my friends are neurodivergent. Yeah. Well, they're founders. Yeah, that's accurate.
Yeah. You have to be a special breed to make it in doing anything. It's so hard to start something. All right, guys. Well, episode 25. This is a 2-parter. This is part 1 of a 2-part mega app, because I'm going to China and recording is a little bit difficult over there. So 2-part mega app, and it's just free form. Everyone let's just talk about what we're feeling and how things are going. September just ended. You guys want to do a Q3 reflection? You guys want to go jump right? Okay.
Q3, Jason, why don't you start, man? And then Sean, I'd love to hear your Q3 and I'll give you guys mine.
Yeah, sure. We had a really good Q3. I was pretty surprised and impressed. I don't have September financials done yet, but the numbers have been really, really strong. We're still up over 100%. That we're up 100% over last Q3. I think it's more like wondering what's going to happen in November and December for us, because so much of our business is then. But I was really happy with the way Q3 worked out. I've been hearing a lot of chatter about how Meta's just been crazy and ads have been shit and whatnot. But I just look at our CAC relative to last year, and is it at least the same, or is it getting better? And it was still in line with where we've been trending, like 15% lower. Now, when we add in some other costs, it all depends on what you put into the CAC, right? It's just ads. I look at it just ad spend, and I don't look at all the different agencies and all the different ways that there are other expenses going out the door. But yeah, it was really good Q3. But I think we've got like 300 more containers that I'm paying for in the next month and a half. So Q4 is what really matters.
Mm-hmm. Jason, are you noticing that? So you're talking your D2C business. Is that? Are you seeing Costco up, same sort of like 100%, like just killing it, or are there parts of your channel mix that are outperforming others right now? Maybe markets, channels. Like, could you expand a little bit for people listening?
Yeah, like our overall growth rate is definitely being impacted positively by our international expansion. So it's just like from a small base, but I think it's not quite 10% yet, but it's probably in the 7 or 8% range, and that's up a lot from last year. So international, it's just doing it right. Like, and the metrics, the efficiency are not as good as the US, but they're acceptable. So we keep doing it. In fact, we just launched Australia. It was crazy. Like Australia, better than the UK after like 2 weeks, which was, I mentioned that in the chat.
Blows me away, actually. That's weird.
Yeah, so we're in a very similar boat. Australia is our second biggest international market. We put the EU as a whole, but the EU is really, Germany, some Nordic countries, Benelux region really supports the EU. But after the EU, Australia beats Canada for us. It beats the UK for us. I think the consumer in Australia is hungry for e-commerce brands and is just really used to shopping online. And I think the UK is actually facing a lot of economic headwinds right now. I think that's something people aren't really talking about compared to the rest of the world. That's at least what we're seeing.
What's wild is so Q3 September Pila case was up 32% year over year, which is a lot for that brand. And September is typically not a great month, even though there's an iPhone launch. It's like, we don't really we're not that brand that benefits from like new phone buyers. But what's driving that is the UK and the EU. So like the US for us has actually been our softer market. UK, EU are just like ripping for Pila case right now.
Well, Matt, do you have Australian exposure?
I did. I actually I don't advertise there now. We've never put any effort into that market, to be honest. So we sell there, it does fine, but Canada whips it for the same size. It's a good comp because population's about the same. We just do so well in Canada. US on a per capita basis for Pila case is my least. It's like my worst business. It's the biggest because of the population, but I suspect that with the effort we're putting into international right now for Pila case, that I think that EU will outperform my US business in the next 2 years, and that it'll surpass my US business. Now, I think the Pila case might be unique there, guys, in that from a values alignment perspective, the Europeans are mega into sustainability and eco and all that stuff, right? So I do think the UK EU outperforms for that reason, but same with Canada. It's weird. It's the UK has been our most stable market the last 3 months. It just freaking trucks along.
Yeah, look, and I think this is a good example that all of us are in e-commerce, all of us sell to consumers, and it's just it's so macro dependent, industry dependent, what's happening, how good you are at the algorithm. But for us, the Canada and the UK are growing, I don't know, somewhere between 30 and 70% year over year, right? It's the mid double digit growth. But if you look at the EU or Australia, multiple 100% year over year growth.
Wow.
Yeah, just like something crazy is happening. Now we also are multi-channel all those places. So we are on Amazon in Australia and in every EU country. So that helps, get any
How does
leakage.
Amazon Australia do compared to D2C Australia? Do you know?
Amazon Australia sucks, man. It like Amazon in Australia in general is not a big business, eh? Like you guys know that.
That's what we were told.
Yeah, it's weird. Australia never got on the Amazon train.
Yeah, it's small. 5 percentage points of Australian revenue, maybe 10 percentage points of Australian revenue, but it all helps, man. When you're talking about big numbers, I'll take it. And it's not that hard to get up and run. Like once you already have localized Australian inventory, like who the fuck cares?
Yeah, I think like our EU UK business will likely push Pillowcase into like a 9-figure brand all on its own in the next like 12 to 24 months. I just think it's like there's 440 million people, man. And like we have a pretty price approachable product for a lot of that. And like we just nail, I think, dude, we just like there's such a customer market, product market fit in those countries for us. It's like it's just a game of localizing at this point.
Yeah, and you do Android phone cases?
We do, and that's like they do well there. We could actually do more of that there. I'm like crazy enough. We're actually contemplating whether we replicate our Canadian factory into a European country to do domestic manufacturing and print on demand for that market.
Matt, let's split a factory because I had the same thought about doing it in France.
Oh, so dude, no. I got it. My family owns like a bajillion factories in Italy.
What do they make?
I got space, man.
What do you make? Can we make anything for HexClad there?
We manufacture aluminum, dude. We can do all kinds of things. All your handles. I could do that.
You can do an entire Ridge wallet, bud. Let's get going.
Yeah, we actually own like one of the larger. My uncle does, not me, but like we've been in business for like 40 some years, 45, 50 years. One of the larger aluminum extrusion operations in Europe. It's a really big company. I run like the like, oh, look at your cute little hobby business in our family. It's like, it's nice that you're good on you, kid.
Yeah. But everyone in the family is trying to do hard like metal extrusion in Italy versus fixing trash problems in the world. It's like, these are hard problems you guys choose to fix, man.
Yeah. My uncle's a chemical engineer, man. He like just in the 70s figured out like a unique way to do aluminum extrusion and built a pretty real business around something really old and something really hard. It's fascinating. Like the next time I'm there, I'm going to actually like shoot some footage of like what like this kind of factory looks like. It's pretty wild. Like I look at like what we do from a molding and a domestic manufacturing perspective, and then I go over there. I'm like, I'm never complaining again. Like he's got like 400 foot long rods of steel. That's his raw inventory. It's like it's coming in on like those like 18-wheeler trucks. That's just steel. That's like raw steel coming in.
Yeah, our factory. This week I had a meeting with like the build out team to like build clean rooms and everything. And like, it's in Mesa, Arizona, and it is like 2 blocks away from the Starbucks. So like we're assembling basically in a residential neighborhood, and it's fine because we're not doing steel like smelting or some shit. It's like we're doing fine assembly. It's a whole different world.
This international thing, we've talked about it a few times. I do think it's going to become more and more important for American brands to explore, like, especially if you're direct to consumer, to explore international markets, to say like, where are your customers? Like, where do you have like really great product customer fit? And I say that because like and I'm seeing this with other brands that I'm involved in, like the American market's amazing. But depending on what you sell, there are other places in the world that like might actually just eat that thing up, right? Like I know I have friends that like they do so much more volume in China than they do in any other market. It's just a better market for their product.
Dude, there's rich people everywhere. That's what I always say.
Rich people everywhere.
You gotta sell people things wherever they are. Let's go back to Q3, Jason. Are you excited going into Q4? I know you're obviously nervous, but Q3 giving you positive signals?
Yeah, look, if we just do what we've been doing, I mean, I don't know why we wouldn't. The question is, maybe we underperform a little bit, or I mean, there's a chance that we just absolutely crush it. I mean, we've been
the last couple of years, dude, would say yes, you are. You're gonna crush it. You seem to be defying gravity.
Yeah. I mean, at your scale, doubling year over year and being like, yeah, our CAC's the same or down. It's like, that just doesn't happen. It's not common.
No, it's so uncommon, Jason. Like it's incredible to watch and get a front row seat to. Like it's super cool. You guys are going to slay it this Q4. Like last year, it felt like everybody's gift du jour was a HexClad something. I'll be curious.
Yeah.
I'll be curious to see if that, like for me at least, does it feel that way again this year? Like we're like HexClad is the gift of the year, right? Or is it like something else now that our little echo chamber of social networks is talking about? Maybe it'll be Ridge Wallet this year.
We have a bunch of new pieces too in our line, so we've been focused on launching. There's a lot of stuff that people couldn't buy last year this time of year, right? That time of year. So there's a lot more for the repeat side, but there's this question of like how many big sets are we going to sell, right? At what point have we kind of topped out? I think we got a long way to go. I think we've sold to 1 million households. So I have to imagine there's at least 15 million households in the United States that should own our product, that could afford our product. So if you kind of do the math on that.
That's about right. The Roomba, I think Roomba is at about 14 or 15 million homes last I checked. So like you think, who do they sell to? It's like a $500 robot vacuum, right? That's about TAM. Keurig is at like 40 million homes, give or take. So your TAM might be a little bit bigger than you think it is.
On the household, penetration side, I was just thinking the other day, dude, Ring is such a good product, and like we're all so stupid for not doing Ring. It's like, of course everyone wants to film their house. It's like, I was thinking, I'm like, oh yeah, like if somebody breaks in or I get packages or whatever, it's so smart to have a goddamn camera on your house. So shout out that guy. I met him once at some fucking Goldman Sachs event. Super chill, super nice guy. Great fucking idea.
I think the last data I saw on the ring.com guy too, the household penetration for them was like 3% is what they were at. Like that's a big number, right? Like that's a huge number. You
could just see how every person in the world wants and needs that. And anyway, so I looking at household penetration, it's a great idea. Jason, I think you could easily get into 15% of household homes like the Roomba thing. And add a camera to your HexClad and bam, 100% of homes. Let's go.
You don't need a doorbell. You just need a pan with a camera. That should have been on our worst ideas episode. Was just you should put a camera in the pan and make it a UGC play. So it's like you don't even need to set your iPhone up anymore. You can just create TikTok cooking content with a HexClad pan because it's always recording you.
Dude, a selfie stick that goes onto the handle of the HexClad walk is a great idea, dude. I'm getting some over the head shots. It's not a bad idea. I can sell it. Let's go.
Sean, I feel like you can sell anything.
Yeah. I'll give it an honest try. I have a question for you guys. It's a little pop quiz. What percentage of your revenue on the year happens in Q4? I do all the numbers myself, so I have the number. So I'm just curious if you guys know.
I don't know if you guys agree with this, but I think we got really great sponsors.
Absolutely.
Before we did this episode, we were actually on with Sharoon from Fulfill, and because we got to learn. It's not genuine for us to have sponsors if we don't know anything about them, because it's hard to recommend. Like you're listening to this show, you want to know that who we are recommending, we actually believe in. And I'm actually excited to do an episode with this guy because he's like clearly knows it. But look, Fulfill, I'm stoked to have them as a sponsor, simply because what he said to me before the episode really hit home. When I asked him, like, what is the sweet spot for somebody to work with you, right? Like, when is a brand a good client for Fulfill? And he immediately jumped into the complexity of a business. And I know that all of us as hosts on the show, we admire this, and we really appreciate it, because like every single brand, we talk about it all the time. We talked about this episode, like there's so many ways to grow a brand, and that usually comes with some amount of complexity at some size. And size isn't the determinator for working with a Fulfill. And I really appreciated that perspective that he had. And we're gonna talk personalization. You can talk about order volumes. Like, Fulfill is purpose built for D2C. After talking to him, I really get that now. So I have no problem recommending him.
Matt, a really interesting thing is he immediately said who shouldn't work for him. I think we should, like,
yep.
He's like, if you're a mattress company doing $10 million a year off of one website, he's like, I don't use Fulfill. He's like, you have one
can't
warehouse.
add value to your life, which like, how nice is that to hear, right? As an operator, like, this is what I like about I just become super fans of companies who can stand there and tell you who they are not for just as well as they can tell you who they are for. And I don't know. I like Fulfill.
I think their ownership structure matters
right now.
They have basically bootstrapped. I think they took some money at the very, very beginning, but they haven't taken all the Series A, Series B, Series C, and that allows them to grow the company at the rate that they think makes sense, where they're really able to serve customers. They don't have to hit some kind of benchmark that a VC's hitting, saying they've got to hit. And I think that makes a really tangible difference. It's easy to underestimate what a superpower that is, having a really good cap table and having a leadership team that's really devoted to serving customers more than hitting some kind of arbitrary goal.
I can tell you, peel a case, a third, and Lomi 60 to 70%.
That's why you got two businesses. You can balance the workload out.
Lomi is such a gift. It's like November, December, and Mother's Day is where we do so much damage. I actually think I'm going to shut advertising off every other fucking day of the year and just go hog on like those 12 weeks a year. And that is actually, I got that from the CMO, the ex-CMO of Roomba, is they would do, I think the number I saw was something like 75% of their 1.6 billion a year in revenue what happened in 12 weeks of every year, the last 8 weeks of the calendar year and the 4 weeks around Mother's Day. And then he was like, we would just go away from an advertise. We would just leave the ad markets. And he's like, everybody else, blow your brains out. And then during that time, we ramp it up and ramp it down.
Last year, we were 48%.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah, we're
crazy like step function in our brand that happened, I think, like around September when we leaned in to national TV buys in the MLB playoffs. I feel like something really big happened. Like you can see it in our Google search volume, like where we are relative to everyone else that sells cookware. Not too shortly after that, we became the number one search for cookware brand. So I think we just really kind of like tapped into that non-Facebook awareness. And that started this incredible flywheel. So we'll see what happens,
Are you going to do any kind of mass media buys this Q4, Jason? Like, are you going to go wide like that?
I mean, we're going across all channels. We're just ramping it up, we're TV, we're all everywhere at this point. Podcast, TV, TikTok, Meta.
This podcast sponsored by HexClad. Invoice in the mail. Jason, we're close to you. We're like 45% of revenue coming in Q4, and we used to be 60, and we've worked really, really hard to get that number, sub 50, and I think 45 is where we're at. November is bigger than Q3. December also bigger than Q3. So each of those months, like everything we just did the past 3 months, we replicate in like little 30-day windows.
Yep.
So it's definitely a stress test for everything you've built all year.
What's nice is that right now, like we really focused on our ops this year, and we were shitting ourselves last year this time going into Q4. Seriously, and we are in great shape, like great shape. So other than the fact that we've taken some risks in our production. It's not perishable. If we don't sell it all, we'll sell it in Q1 anyways, and you'll have Chinese New Year in Q1, and we'll have a lull, and it's fine. We can always like adjust, but we definitely are sinking cash into inventory. But I feel pretty good about it. Q4.
Are you? I know you've done a ton of work on your supply chain this year domestically. Internationally, or your 3PL as well? Like no owned operations, right? In all your other markets?
Yeah, it's all 3PL. International, US, we've got a combination of our own warehouse, and now we've got 2 different 3PLs plus our warehouse because we just don't have the space.
That's the biggest problem with doing your own, fulfillment. One is managing an hourly staff, which is very, very difficult to do. And then the second one is if your business doubles, you got to get a second warehouse. Like you can't just add more warehouse space, right? And we've seen a lot of companies just like have to keep up leveling their warehouse, and it's amazing to just like put all that on a 3PL. Be like, figure it out, you do it.
Can I want to, I'm curious to get your guys' opinion on this. I tweeted this out today. So like, I get a weird amount of email. So I write this like my weekly newsletter, right? And I get a weird amount of people responding right now saying they're starting brands. And that's not the weird part. The weird part that I'm noticing, and I'm curious to get your take on this, is like how many people have an expectation that in their first year, they'll hit 7 figures, and in their second, they'll crack 8. And it's like, it's a pattern with these like inbound, like these people be like, hey man, I'm a fan of the pod. Love your newsletter. I'm launching a brand. My plan is to do 7 figures in year 1. And I'm like, are you Sean Frank? Like, do you know how fucking hard that is? Is that a strange expectation, or is it just me who thinks like, am I just curmudgeon-y and thinking like, that's really aggressive for year 1? Like, you better have a killer product, man.
Everyone's got a plan until they get punched in the face. I think that's a Jason Panzerism.
It's actually Mike Tyson, but I have adopted it.
Yeah, man. I mean, I think doing 7 figures your first year is super plausible. Like you have product market fit, you got a passionate founder, you take advantage of a new channel like TikTok Shops, you can walk your way right into 7 figures. Going from 7 figures to 8 figures is the absolute hardest thing for any business to do. It's way harder than your first million. It's way harder than your first 100 million. That 1 to 10, the hardest ones are 1 to 10 and then 10 to 30. Like those are where companies die. So you will not do 10. You will not do 8 figures in your second year of business. And if you do, you're a great operator, or you've unlocked something or something. It's so fucking hard to do. It took Ridge 5 years to get to $10 million or something. Like it took HexClad probably 5 years, maybe 8 years. I mean, these are old companies you're talking about. Like Ridge is 12 years old at this point. Jason, HexClad's what, 15?
HexClad is HexClad is started selling cookware in 2016.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
cookware in 2016. Yeah.
That violates my point.
Sorry, I didn't mean to contradict you, but you made me.
You got to lie for the story. No, I'm just joking.
I think Sean, like you raising it. So like you got to remember, right? Like the people who listen or watch this, not everybody's running $100 million company or $50 million company. A lot of them are like getting past that first million on their way to 10. And I think I would agree, Sean. I think getting to your first million in consumer is less difficult than going from 1 to 10. And then 10 to 30, I actually think is the hardest. I think above that is much easier.
And like, let's break down the psychology behind that. The first $1 million, one person can do. Okay. The first 10 million requires some semblance of a team. And it's like, maybe it's just freelancers, maybe it's just agencies or whatever, but it is still people you're recruiting into your organization and trusting them to help you scale. 30 million, an overbearing founder can bully that team to $30 million, but not above. Like, you need a process and system to get above $30 million. Like, that's like the psychology as I see it. So that's why these jumps are so hard. The reason why 30 to 100 is less hard is because you have a process, you have a system, you have a team. But Matt, do you agree with that, or is there something else I'm missing?
do. Yeah, I do. I think that like a lot of first time founders don't realize how hard the team part is, and like the systems part, and like, you know, because I guess the first $1 million is definitely, I guess, like looking in hindsight to what I was thinking, like it is less daunting. And if I look back at building my own companies, like getting over 10 sucked. Like all the, like, you know, when you don't know how to build team and structure and systems, and like, you're just, everything's breaking when you're going from 1 to 10. Like there's so much shit that's breaking. Like from 1 to 10 is like, that's a 10x jump. Every time you double, you break something in your business.
Yeah. And I've never felt more stupid than building a business past $10 million. And I've never felt smarter and like full of myself every single day building $100 million business, because more wind at your back, right? Like, you know, it's you're doing a drag race, but you literally got fucking wind going against you, adding to your speed. You're like, I'm the fucking best driver on earth, right? Or you're playing bowling with fucking bumpers up with $100 million business. It's like, it's more surface area, more area to float. But so much stupid shit I did at $10 million because I was young and dumb. I'd never done it before, right? So that those are the danger zones. And here's another dirty secret. This is something people do not want to hear, and I get so mad, and people get mad at me when I post about this on the internet. You're broke as fuck until you're making at least $50 million a year in your business. Like, you'll probably make more money as a solo entrepreneur with $1 million business than as a scaling $5 to $10 million business.
Yep.
And like, because when you're doing $1 million a year, you could pull out $300K a year, but it's so fucking hard to do that when you're going from 1 to 10. Like, you're literally eating ramen broke, and people hate hearing that. They're like, no, I want a Lamborghini. I'm like, wait 5 years, man.
It's so true. It's the worst part of it. And it's like the thing that people don't get. It's like you can be super profitable and still be broke. Got to buy inventory.
That's why that growth rate to me is like so dangerous too, right? To say that I'm going to go from 1 to 10 million in 12 months. I'm like, how are you capitalizing that? That's a lot of inventory, man. That like, I just like, you didn't make enough profit on $1 million to buy enough inventory to make 10 million. Like, I don't know what math you're running, but that's not how that shit works. Like, that's not how margin works. Margin doesn't just magically 10x, you know? No.
Yeah. And then people want to raise money, but they don't realize that $1 million e-commerce brand is basically worth $0. So like, you have to raise money so you can grow fast, but the thing you're building has like a negative market value. And like, maybe in 2020, 2021, that was different, but
yeah, the only way I can see it done is like if you have a crazy cash conversion cycle, like you're mega negative, right? Where like customers and vendors are financing everything, and you can totally scale up your buys without laying out cash. I just don't know anybody that can do that with $1 million business. Like, that's impressive if you can be negative that small.
Yeah, if you're the coolest cooler and you raise $20 million in pre-orders and then go out of business, that's a great way you can do it with a negative cash conversion cycle.
Oh, dude, like we did it with Lomi. Like, we launched Lomi, our crowdfund. We did $7.5 million in 45 days. Right? Like, it was a good crowdfund, but also old enough and not so dumb to know that like that money needs to, like, you need to buy inventory with that and fulfill orders. And like, that's not like payroll and growth capital. That is like committed sales, you know?
Yeah. It's a liability, right?
Yes.
It's not R&D budget. It's not party budget. It's literally a liability.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that Sean, that your comment about like how hard it is to go from 1 to 10 is actually really great advice for people to watch for. It's like, if you are new to this game, that is Death Valley. 1 to 10 is absolutely Death Valley.
The two best quality of life states you can reach are lifestyle $5 million business or $100 million plus CEO. Those are like the two areas where it's actually fun. And like everything else sucks so much dick. And like it fucking sucks. Trust me, I've been
black
there.
hole, that black hole north of 5-10 million. It's funny because people ask me like, how do you negotiate that? What do you do? How do you manage it? And I can't think of a better answer than just fucking make money. Like, run your business to make money, even at that level. And if you can't finance the growth and be generating cash, then you probably should just grow slower.
Dude, 100%. And nobody wants to hear that. It's like, it's totally cool to grow 10%. All right, guys.
Well, yeah, dude. Like, I think the first 6 months of this year, I was ignoring Pillowcase and it was flat. And then I sort of got into it, and it needed a bunch of operational cleanup. Like, it really did. Like, that business was just, it needed some work. But once it was done, I mean, now it's like it's back and it's growing and it's like performing really, really well. Like, month over month, just keeps trucking. It's a great product. Jason, it's like, you'd be proud. It's a great product. And it's like, it's finally like, it operationally can scale. Like, it didn't have what it needed, right? Like, there was just a lot of leaks everywhere, and that business is now cleaned up and it's like, it's looking really good. So kudos.
Mine shows up tomorrow.
Love it. All right. I got to go. I was at the Gucci store the other day, and this woman had like a Gucci phone case. So, but I'm going to get the Pila case instead.
Yeah. Fuck this Gucci and golf thing. No. You got to get the Pila case, dude. I'll send you some. I will send some shit to you.
But Sean, I need a new wallet, dude. I lost my wallet in London. Ridiculous.
Did you have the AirTag attachment?
No, I'm a fucking lazy idiot. I'm a lazy fuck, and I didn't have a fucking AirTag, and I want to kill myself.
Was it on the bus? Is that where you lost your wallet?
No, it wasn't on the bus. No, it was like about 10 minutes after I paid for a $2,000 dinner for people. So it's perfect. I got to pay for the dinner and then lose my wallet.
Oh, I'm sorry. I love that you were on a bus. It's the best.
Yeah, Jason, you haven't heard last week's episode, but we gave you so much shit for missing it, for being on the bus. You're going to get so many fucking tweets about it. You're going to be so mad at us.
I can't wait. No, it's cool. I love it. I just want to entertain you guys. So it's all good. But let me tell you, the bus ride from hell, okay? We left Padstow in Cornwall at 2 p.m. to go to the airport, like 30 minutes away. And our flight got canceled. And we got to our hotel in London at 3 a.m.
Whoa.
Thanks to the bus. So 2 p.m. to 3 a.m. This is perfect for the Panzerism of the day. All right. Can we do this? So
yes.
The Panzerism of the day is, and I know Sean is going to love this one because he says people don't want to do the hard thing. The Panzerism of the week is, your life is too easy. Your life is too easy. Like, I was in the UK. I was on the bus ride from hell. I was kind of joking around, tweeting about it, but like, I went to the Tower of London. Okay. And I had a bunch of friends with me, and I was like the organizer because I lived in London, and I was talking to our tour guide, and I'm fascinated by how people lived like centuries ago, because life is so easy now. And my tour guide, basically, there's a quote from some British author: life was nasty, brutish, and short. Right? Like, so the next time people want to go out on social media and vent about their anxiety or how hard their life is, like, remember that people basically lived in shit and feared for their lives until like 100 years ago. Right?
Jason, I love this Panzerism. I got.
It's so good.
I mean, they literally, the king used to move from, you know why the kings had all these castles? You know why there's like Buckingham Castle and Windsor Castle? Because they would make such a fucking mess in a couple of months with poor sanitation and everything else. It smelled so bad they had to leave. That's why they had all these fucking castles, dude. It's ridiculous. Like, and people want to complain about their anxiety. It's like, really? You know what? Anxiety is natural. Like, you're just lucky you don't have anxiety about finding your next meal or the fact that you live in shit. Like, they literally drank beer because there was no clean water. Children drank beer in like the 1400s and 1500s in the United Kingdom. Did you guys know that?
Sanitary. I didn't know that. No, that's such, dude, there's all kinds of weird history like this, right? Like why certain things happened. That's hilarious. I didn't know that one.
Well, Jason, the other thing about the beer is that it was a lot of people almost exclusively drank beer in the winter for calories, because you could drink 800 calories in 3 hours or whatever, and it would last all winter. So there's an additional benefit there. But guys, everyone on the podcast uses Northbeam. Okay, like I use Fulfill. I'm trying to invest in Sendlane, and I use Northbeam. I'm the trifecta here. Why do we use Northbeam? Well, we're going into Q4, and if you spend a lot of money on paid media, right? So I'm talking probably multiple millions on Facebook in a month in November, you need a source of truth reporting hourly to accurately pivot budgets and campaign spend. And that one feature alone, my whole paid media team logs into it, my whole creative team logs into it, and they can see which ads are driving sales, creative, whatever, on an independent basis with real-time data, and then pivot budgets accordingly. And in a month like November, you can end up saving 80 grand in an hour or something crazy, right? So it's a great time to use Northbeam going into Q4. It takes a learning curve. You better sign up early because you don't want to be trying to learn how to do it in the Wednesday before Black Friday. It won't be any value to you then. You have to be integrated into the system. You need data. You need to learn how it works. I think they actually have a mastermind coming up next week. And if you're listening to this past next week, whenever that date might be, just find Austin on Twitter, hit him up, and he'll do a one-on-one demo with you to make sure you understand how Northbeam works. So thank you, Northbeam, for being a sponsor. They also have a mixed media modeling tool, which this only applies for the big boys in chat. If you're spending $10 million a month, you need a mixed media modeling tool. And if I'm the first guy to tell you that, how the fuck did you get to $10 million a month and spend? Like, I'm too dumb for you to take advice from me, but that is the next level. Attribution tool first, then mixed media modeling, and Northbeam can carry you through that. I want to add on to this. I got 2 points. The first is I'm watching Gilmore Girls right now with my wife, and it's a 20-year-old show. And in one of the episodes, Rory has to ride the bus, and I was watching it last night, and I'm like, oh, dude, life used to be so boring. Could you imagine riding a bus for 3 hours without TikTok or without YouTube or podcasts? You just have to sit there and how awesome life is now. Yeah, just like I can learn anything I want at any point, and it's awesome. The second point is that you're right. Yeah, let those balloons fly. The second point is that for all of human history, every single year of human history, the number one threat was starving to death. And in the past 100 years, we've shifted it so that the number one threat is being too fat. And it's like, dude, obesity is actually like the greatest peace dividend we've ever had. And yeah, people are too fat and people have heart disease or whatever. But you have to remember that even 200 years ago, like last episode, we talked about Irish goodbyes. That's because people had to leave Ireland and they were so ashamed that they were leaving their homeland because everyone was starving to death. And it's like, dude, that was fucking... Your great grandparents could remember that happening. And it's like, it's so crazy we fixed that. Now everybody gets to be fat. It's like, we should celebrate that and be so stoked that like we've invented awesome technology that allows for such abundance. So dude, life is too easy now. It's too easy.
It's too fucking easy. I mean,
Jason,
Harden the fuck up, people.
Were you a rub some dirt on it, Dad? Like your kid scraped his knee, you were like, don't be a little bitch, rub some dirt on it. Like, were you one of those?
Pretty compassionate. No, I wasn't that bad.
But I had a dad like that. That's why I
do believe that my children were too coddled. I do believe that, but they're very good kids. So I'm, in hindsight, I probably wouldn't change anything.
Yeah, I think I broadly agree. I think it's like although I was thinking today, and this is sort of one of those things, like, because you constantly are told there's never been a better time to be alive, right? Poverty is at an all-time low. Like, there's so many things like and there's a book on this. I forget which one. I don't know if I have it, but it's like, it actually shows you the world in numbers and how, like, it's never been better to be alive. Like, on every metric that we have, it's never been better. But I do wonder, is that an excuse to just stop trying to progress? Do we think that, like, because it's never been better, we're actually getting complacent as, like, on a broad basis? There's people that are not complacent, but, because it's so good, do you think it is?
Matt, it's a great point. This ends up being a political conversation. If, like, the rise of populism and the rise of, socialist policies are because of we've achieved levels of abundance that are, so great that, like, we can actually talk about them being more evenly distributed. And it's very viral on TikTok right now that, like, the upcoming class of middle schoolers, like, are years and years behind because of the pandemic. And, like, a lot of them don't know, basic information or math or whatever. And it's probably overblown because everything on TikTok ends up being overblown and all of these trends. But yeah, I mean, we're probably heading towards more inequality of people who have access, or people whose parents are super bought in, who can pay for tutors and schooling and whatever else. And, like, probably going more towards an aristocrat or feudalistic society, unless fascism and populism rise up and slay everyone in charge and try to make it a more even state. But
do you guys think about this through the lens of consumer? So Jason, like, this whole, it's never been better. I mean, outside of, like, HexClad being this, like, very rare, defies gravity type of moment, like, you guys are capturing lightning in a bottle. Like, when in all of our chats, right, there's chatter about student loans kicking in, and, like, is consumer going to go into a mild, like, some kind of recession? A lot of people are talking about this, but do we think that this change, like, are we entering a phase where, like, consumer behavior will shift? How we shop will shift? I was commenting on this today with my wife. I'm like, I do wonder if travel in general right now, because it's been having a moment, right? Post COVID, the snapback in travel has been crazy. If you sell anything in and around travel, luggage, clothes, doesn't matter what, you're killing it. I kind of wonder who's paying for this shit long term, though. Like, I'm looking at the price of hotels and I'm thinking, I'm fucking rich and I'm not paying that. So, like, which dumbass is paying $2,000 a night for a hotel in Cabo? I want to know. There was
an article in the Journal. I don't know whether it was today or yesterday, but they're saying, like, people are just basically YOLOing because probably the pandemic, also because they can't afford to buy real estate because rates are so high. So they're just fucking spending the money. They're just spending it on other shit.
This can't last, though. You can't keep doing that. That actually has a ceiling,
right?
Like, that level of spend.
The travel thing, the data just came out from, there's, like, a big travel conference going on right now. Jason Calacanis was just there. He had a guy from the podcast on, and they said that actually in the past 30 days, there's been massive drop-offs in international travel in every market except for the US. So I think we're watching that correction, and the travel industry is entering into a recession before our eyes. I'll find the article and send it to you.
Is this the big pendulum? So, like, COVID, everything went consumer, right? It didn't come back to the middle. Everything went way over to experience and travel. So, like, concerts, Taylor Swift, like, all of it, everything was like whatever we didn't have for 3 years, it just swung way back in the other direction. And now, do we think that, like, okay, so we're going to enter some kind of consumer spend pullback? Is it going to be like, are we settling back in the middle, or are we going to swing right back to the other side? Do we get back to, like, 2019 sort of distribution of share of wallet across all categories.
Well, Jason, I think, had a very correct take that because people can't buy cars and real estate because the markets are frozen, that those dollars that people would put into upgrading or whatever had to go somewhere. They went to experience. Now that's dropping off. I do think it could go into consumer or debt repayments or whatever. Some inside information. I'm in Austin, Texas, so it's the absolute worst real estate market in America right now. And I met with a realtor today who is like, he's an older guy, 50, 60 years old. He's been a real estate guy the whole time. I'm looking at houses that it's just a lease. It was listed at 13,000. It was marked down a bunch of times down to like $9,000. And like, they can't lease it to anybody. And like, I'm like, if I'm going to lease this, I'm going to make a low ball offer on this fucking thing. And he's like, yeah, nobody in Austin has seen a recession. Like nobody, none of the builders, none of the homeowners, they weren't here in 2008. He's like, I was. And he's like, look, it's not 2008, but he's like, it's going to get bad. Right. And so I do think we've seen some stuff freeze up, and I think Q4 will be good on the consumer side of the business, but Q1, deep recession, and the sitting president, who's very unpopular going into an election year, I think cuts interest rates all the way back down rapidly, multiple percent drops, because the economy.
That's a Fed thing though, right?
So the Fed is supposed to be. The Fed is supposed to be independent, but I don't think it's very independent. I think the Fed chair will answer a call to try to save a presidency. I think that's where we are in American history.
Well, so let's talk about rates, okay? Because I hope you're right, Sean. Please be right. That would be incredible. Like low rates.
Is this a Sean versus Chamath thing? Can we go on record and say that
I
Sean
actually want to talk about the last All In podcast actually in a minute, but here's the counter argument to rates coming down. The consumer is spending, right? The consumer is still spending. And I feel like we've reached this new level of homeostasis in the market with the rates, et cetera. And the economy is working. It's working, right? It may not be working perfectly. It's never going to work perfectly, but it's working. People are spending. So now if Sean is correct, and this spending that we're seeing is just not going to stick around, then yeah, sure. Like economy declines and we need to raise rates, right? But lower rates, sorry. But it just, it's like, it's kind of defying gravity right now. And you never know when or how. It's like chaos, right? This is not linear. There's like the inputs in the model are too many, and it's like chaos. So even someone as like well-read as Sean and intelligent as Sean
doesn't read. Don't say that.
Well, Sean has very good takes on a lot of things. He's
well-educated somehow.
He's not,
but
it's
not from books.
Yeah, he has really good takes on a lot of things, but
he does.
I just, I hope you're right though. Hope you're right.
Well, Jason, you're the only guy old enough here to remember the Jimmy Carter presidency, and you were probably 2 years old, right?
I think I was 7.
Yeah. So it is so eerie how the current economic climate just mirrors what happened in the Jimmy Carter presidency. You have a one-term, semi-populist, popular Democratic president who is facing international strife. With Jimmy Carter, it was the Iran hostage crisis. We have the Ukraine war going on right now, and out of control inflation. That's what put Jimmy Carter out of office and brought in the era of Reagan, right? And it looks identical. And I think Joe Biden doesn't end up running again for president. I think Gavin Newsom steps in. I think he chooses a new VP, and they try to relaunch the Democratic platform because they haven't got anything done. Student loan forgiveness didn't fucking happen. We still have very high inflation over the past couple of years. There's still a fucking war they're trying to get funding for. And the only way to save all that is to pull a populist move, give money back to the people, do student loan forgiveness, reduce interest rates, and kick this economic bomb down 10 more years, 8 more years, whatever it takes. And if they don't do that, then you're just looking at probably a very hard 2024 and the rise of some sort of right-wing movement in America. That's just what I'm calling. I'll go head to head with Chamath, man. I know that guy stole a lot more money than me, but I'll go head to head with him.
Did you guys listen to the last ep of All In with Coleman Hughes?
Yep. That was incredible.
Had you known Coleman Hughes before that? Had you heard of him before?
I hadn't. No, but it's on my, I'm literally got the TED Talk on my other screen here and I want to watch it.
I've never heard of him before this or the TED thing or whatever.
So there are a lot of really good voices out there that it's incredible how many like super intelligent people like you guys don't know. And it just goes to show how ill-informed even really smart people are. Like the fact that you guys didn't know who Coleman Hughes was.
Not a clue.
And Glenn Lowry, who he talks about, who's incredible, that was mentioned. Barry Weiss. A lot of people don't know who Barry Weiss was. I mean, if you're a big Twitter person, maybe you do, like, because she was involved with the Twitter files.
Oh,
people like Matt Taibbi was a Rolling Stone journalist for a very long time. Glenn Greenwald.
Do they report on e-commerce at all?
Didn't Greenwald just like torch Canada for this stupid podcast bullshit? Did you guys see this week?
Well, so did Jason. So did JCal.
Dude, it's fucked. Have you heard this, Sean? Like, the Canadian federal government is requiring all streaming services to register now, and like so that we can police the amount of Canadian content. As a Canadian, the Canadian content thing is fucking stupid. It's stupid. Like, our content sucks. Like, Canadian content is garbage compared to American. I don't understand why we have to get this shit jammed down our throats. Blah, blah, blah culture. I'm just going to say it now, man. I'm 42 years old and I don't know. I can't remember, like, there's like odd shows that are Canadian that are hilarious as a Canadian. But if you shut off American content, I'm pissed.
Degrassi.
What the fuck? You're too young for that.
No, dude, there's the old Degrassi, and then there was a newer one with Drake. So Degrassi, great piece of Canadian film. Trailer Park Boys, obviously. Man,
look, I'm sure there's some amount of like merit in this Canadian content thing. I just think our government is going about it in a way that like they have no idea how these big tech companies work. Not a clue, right? They're so clueless to the modern internet. And I mean, we saw this with the American politicians. Like, remember when Zuck was sitting in front of Congress trying to explain how advertising worked? Like, I feel like the Canadian government is having its Zuck moment where they're like, can't we just tell them not to do that?
Didn't the All In guys go after Trudeau pretty hard?
As they should. He's being a dipshit. Like, they should.
So, Matt, I texted you about Canada, I don't know, a couple weeks ago because I think
you didn't text me. You asked in the entire group, how do I feel about the outlook of Canada? It was like your Panzer moment coming after me.
Sorry. There's four main reasons, right? Like, I think, their control of content, and specifically they went after YouTubers, I think is very insane to see from any Western government, right? I mean, I understand where it comes from. It's protectionist, whatever. The second thing is and this was meme to death. We don't have to talk about it, but like the standing round of applause they gave the Nazi SS guy.
I saw.
Yeah, that was bad. But that was not good. The real thing is what's happening with the relationship with India and the assassination of a Sikh leader on Canadian ground. And the fourth one is obviously
it's embarrassing.
Prices.
It's all embarrassing. Like, that's my take, Sean, is like, I'm just embarrassed. I used to be really proud of our country, like from a democracy and like morals and, just it felt very like Switzerland-esque living here, like just like a good, like milk toast, Like we just didn't, like we're vanilla, you know, like our banks never collapsed during the last crisis. Like we're just stable. And right now it feels like, as somebody who grew up liberal, like in a liberal home, and has been like raised in a lot of these like don't leave anybody behind values and believes in those, I don't like it. I don't like where we are right now. It's embarrassing. I just think that like this person, he's just not qualified to be in office. And I'm not an expert, but like it just feels that way. I don't study it, so like my opinion probably doesn't matter.
Well, Matt, your opinion matters the most on the as a nation, as a national of Canada. And I just want to say I love and respect. I have so many Canadian friends and allies. I grew up in the Pacific Northwest, going to Vancouver, and like some of them are embarrassing. I think the content thing's embarrassing. Obviously, fucking clapping for Nazis is just such a bad look. But the assassination of a Sikh leader, allegedly by, like Indian special forces. I haven't done too much research into that, but that just seems like what the fuck is going to happen? I mean, these are two major U.S. allies, both with nuclear weapons, like kind of getting into a puffin match. So I don't know if you have any thoughts.
Did the All In guys? I don't think I caught that part. Did they talk about that? The Indian?
They did not.
The India thing with Canada. Jason, did they go into that at all?
Yeah, they mentioned it.
Yeah, I haven't listened to that piece yet, but like, I don't understand why that's happening in a public stage. My take on all that was like, what do you mean you're getting up in front of our parliament accusing a pretty big international player of something like that? Like, I feel like that's a phone call.
Yeah.
Like maybe several phone calls before you say it on television. Maybe. I don't know. Like, that's how I give critical feedback. It's like one-on-one, you know? Like when one of my employees pisses me off, I don't like call an all hands and torch the person in front of 100 other people.
Yeah.
Maybe.
It's one of those things where, as an American, I think you often see the world through an American point of view. And you think of like the US and then maybe the people who the US thinks are enemies, right? Like, like America versus Iran or America versus Russia. But like, you never think about like, how do Bolivians feel about Argentinian people? Like you never think about that. Like as an American, like other countries having relationships with other countries just doesn't cross your mind. So it's like, oh yeah, I have no idea how Canada and India feel about each other. I just thought they would be buddies because we're buddies with them. But
see, Canada, I thought we liked everybody. That's the part that I'm really confused about now is like, I just thought that we were good, man. I thought we were all buddies. Like, and whenever I went around the world as a Canadian, it was like, everybody was just kind of nice to you. And now I feel like when I travel, people are like, how are things in Canada, man? You know, it's like, I get this question so much. It's like, how you guys doing? Are you okay? Can you buy bread?
The word that comes to mind is just thought leadership. And that's really what you want. It's not just about software. It's about the people designing and building that software and advising you on how to use that software to get the most out of your business. And the Sendlane team is obviously thought leaders in the messaging space. Jimmy regularly is posting on Twitter and giving insights of how you can be more effective at communicating with your customers on own messaging. And listen, we all know CPMs are only going up. If there's a core competency you have to develop, you have to get great at messaging, and Sendlane is an excellent option. We loved being there for a live operators pod. Hope everybody enjoyed listening to it, and we're thankful to have Sendlane as one of our sponsors.
I've tried to invest in Sendlane. Like I've tried to speak about putting your money where your mouth is. Jimmy will not let me on the cap table. I don't know why, but it's a product I believe in so much in this market that I am trying to put my own money into it. So Jimmy, this is a call for help. Let me invest in your software, dude. It's really good.
Like, are you fine? And I'm just like, when did this shit change? I don't understand.
Well, Matt, I'll stop asking. And if you ever need an H-1B visa, I got you, dude. I'll make sure you can come. But Jason,
luckily, I think I have an American corp. I can issue myself a freaking visa.
Hilarious.
But like, I hear you. It is like, we never talk politics on here. And I'm definitely like, I grew up in a home and also a life where like it's okay to debate politics and it's good to have healthy conversation. That was actually something that Jason, when I was listening to the Coleman Hughes thing on All In, I don't know anything about the content that they were discussing. I'm not at all up to speed on that, but I enjoyed the discourse. Like I just liked the intellectual discourse. And it would be nice if it's like we do that. Like I like this in our groups too, like where this isn't about how you feel or an opinion. It's just intellectual discourse. And sometimes there can be debate, and that's a good thing. And it really doesn't matter like what you think or feel at the end of the day. It's just like debate it. That's sort of how progress happens.
Also, facts don't care about your feelings.
Is that a Panzerism? Is that the second Panzerism of the day? That feels like a Panzerism.
I did not. That's not original content, but it's one that I love and use. Facts don't care about your feelings, and unfortunately, people are just way more emotional than we want to believe. We believe that people are rational. I mean, you guys are fucking consumer experts, so you get it. But like, you go to school and they teach you like all this rational thinking. People ain't rational, man. It's lizard brain. And like, that's again what they talked about on the All In pod, how it's like Coleman Hughes like triggered these people by saying things like that they were offended by, words are now violence in your life. Chalk that up to like in your life being way too fucking easy, right? Words are now violence. So, yeah,
it's as a marketer, like Sean, I'm sure you think of this. We as marketers and consumer, I think we put a lot into tapping into emotional triggers, right? Like the psychology of stuff. That's what good marketers do, which ultimately means that we're really playing on like identity, right? So it's like, you're not complete unless you own this thing, is ultimately what every ad is saying, is like, you are just not a complete human without a HexClad pan. Like your credit cards are lonely and stupid without like a wallet, like a Ridge wallet, right? So like, and here's the problem though. The other edge of identity is people get like, it's so personal, right? So like when somebody feels like their identity is being threatened, they do feel like somebody just attacked them, right? So like that, I kind of understand what was being said from that perspective, that like, yeah, man, if my identity is tied up in something that I like is like years and years and years of building up around this idea, and all of a sudden somebody came to me and said like, that's just not true, of course I'm going to feel attacked. Like, I think that's normal.
Yeah, there's lots of proof of that in the scientific community. Like the guy who made plate tectonics, or who thought of the idea, was ridiculed his entire life for it, because before that, I forget the term, but like the idea was that the earth is a constant thing that doesn't change. And he was like, no, check this out. Like Africa and South America used to be one thing. And if you look them on a map, like they go together. And he said that, and people are like, you're the stupidest motherfucker on earth. He got ridiculed, thrown out of the scientific community. And it's because people built their entire career in research and like identity around the other way of thinking. And then this guy ended up being right. Then after he died, people are like, oh yeah, that guy was totally fucking right. So that's just, classic human nature. If you believe something, you don't want to stop believing it. And there's been wars fought over that. And I don't know his name's Coleman Hughes. I guess I'll watch the TED Talk.
Dude, apparently it's great. I'm going to watch it tonight. I heard, I would listen to the All In episode. I listened to the conversation that they had. I thought it was great. But I don't know anything about the subject matter or the topic, so I can't comment on that. But that was like a moment where like, sometimes I don't love the All In pod because it's so tech focused and so like SaaS focused, and like it just feels like it's very far from consumer, which is where we live. That moment on their show recently, I'm like, I like the show again. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah. The reason we never talk about politics on this show is, one, I think we're too fucking stupid to talk about politics.
I'm too dumb.
Speaking of me, I'm too stupid to talk about politics. And if I told you guys what I really think, you guys would think I'm such a fucking weirdo.
I know, we already think that. It's okay. It's okay, dude. Like, we know you're weird. Totally okay.
I'm like, I think the world would be better if everyone was richer. So I think all of our policies should be built around trying to get every single person as rich as possible. And
because the world would be better if everybody
that's
had
also
a
what
wallet.
Coleman Hughes was talking about. Coleman Hughes, Chamath said it, right? Like the issues around the culture wars, etc., that we're talking about. It's like it's what you should really be talking about is lifting up people based on their economic status. That's the number one reason to look at. Like, fix economic status and forget about everything else. Like that's what Chamath was saying. So Chamath and Coleman Hughes, both people of color, very interesting takes, very contrary to the current thing. So,
John, I don't know if you see this in your circle of friends. Do you find that your friends are nostalgic for shit that they didn't experience? Like the fucking record thing blows me away. Like the number of like 20-year-olds I see collecting records and they're like super into it.
I own hundreds of records.
What the?
It is the best way to support independent music. So it's 20 or $25 or whatever, and they get like 12 of it. So hey, check out these bands. The Menzingers, my favorite band. This is Basement, Tigers. I mean, my house is just nothing but fucking music memorabilia.
Super cool. I find that such a fascinating thing. And I don't remember our generation being nostalgic for anything that we didn't experience directly. Like, so collecting records when I was your age, Sean, wasn't really a thing as it is now with people in their 20s. And I think that
it seems like there's also like there's a genetic component. There's a genetic component to this. Sean, were either of your parents like very wanted to hang on to things, like they were just
I thought you were just calling me genetically inferior. Never mind. Go ahead, Sean.
No, I mean,
is that like something in your family? Like you had a dad who like always wanted to hold on to stuff.
No, dude, I had single dad, like living in a 2-bedroom house just full of junk that we would just throw it all away and get new junk. That's what we would do. I've moved probably like in my adult life, maybe 10 times. And before I got married, I would just throw everything away and then Amazon shit to show up my new apartment, new bed, new everything. Didn't keep track of shit. Man, we've been going for like an hour. We talked about like no e-commerce.
No, that's true. Well, we talked about stuff like the business of stuff.
We got into some conspiracy theories around Canada, and I let my populist beliefs shine. So,
Sean, I have a product question then on this, just to follow up Jason's thing. Do you guys have a cohort of customers that collects Ridge wallets? That like other collectibles to them?
We have one guy named Steven who we talk about all the time, that he has an alert set up. He has to, that anytime we create a new page, he within seconds is buying a new one. And he showed us, and he's like a display case. Like he has every single wallet we've ever released. So
I think that's an interesting moment for a brand when it gets so crazy that people genuinely just like, they want to own every version of something over time. Like, and we've seen that, isn't there a movie on like the whole Beanie Baby or some shit that came out recently? Like some brands have those moments in culture where like they become collectible. Doesn't matter what the hell it is. My business partner built his last company on these like little squishy toys, and kids would go out of their way to try to collect them. And it was I think it was actually sold in little blind boxes at retail. So you never knew which one you were getting. Right. And then like every kid just wanted all of them. Like I needed every little character that ever came out. I could see Ridge, like that you would have customers like that.
Yeah, we have a couple, but I think we need to really update like our limited releases to really try to build that energy around it. Not to go off topic of e-commerce, you brought up movies. I saw Dumb Money. Have you guys heard of this movie?
I've heard of it. I haven't watched it yet.
Dude, I recommend it very, very highly. I think it's a spiritual successor to The Big Short. Like it has like very similar energy. The Winklevoss twins, I think, put up the funding for it.
Is this the Robin Hood story?
It is.
It's the freaking dude, right? GameStop guy.
It centers on Roaring Kitty, the guy from GameStop. Robin Hood's involved. And it's pretty well done. Go see it. That's my recommendation.
That's a great take. I haven't seen it, but do you think it's as good as The Big Short? Because I absolutely love that movie. I love the book. I actually was I was kind of like I was very involved back in the ABS and the mortgage meltdown, because when I was running corporate development at FactSet, a fintech company, we were big on the equity portfolio management, and we wanted a solution for fixed income, and we acquired this company like right at the fucking top of the MBS market, and they had this great business, just like analytics on fixed income products and portfolios, and we bought it, and then like 6 months after we closed the deal, the whole market imploded. And like they're at this conference in Vegas where they're just seeing all these jerk offs, and I was just like, I was at that fucking conference. Such a good movie. Such a good movie.
You weren't one of those guys though, right, Jay?
I was one of the guys providing picks and shovels to those gold miners.
Do I think it's as good as The Big Short? I don't. If you put The Big Short as a 10, I think this is an 8. I think it's 20% worse than The Big Short. The big failings are I don't think it does a good enough job explaining the mechanics of what's happening. Like if you watch it and you understand stocks and order flow and like how hedge funds make money, like you will really, really enjoy the movie. But I went with some people who had no fucking idea, and afterwards in the car they're like, hey, can you, like, what was all this about? And so like I think it doesn't do a good enough job getting into the details, so like, my mom could watch it or whatever, or she'll have no fucking idea what happened. But the best thing about the movie is how correctly it captures the energy around 2020 and 2021 so quickly after the event happened. What's up, everybody? Thank you for listening to part 1 of a 2-part series we're doing. Next week, you'll get part 2. I don't know where the cut is, so I hope it ended in a good spot. I hope you enjoy listening to it. If you liked it, comment below or go in the Slack group and said, hey, I want to see more of you guys just spitballing. If you hated it, go ahead and DM Jason Panzer on Twitter and say, dude, this sucked. Go back on the bus, and he'll know exactly what you're talking about. Thank you for listening to part 1.